think we're going live. If you're tuning in, I apologize if I am looking in weird directions. I'm actually kind of trying to find specific folks, particularly our good friend Lane. Hopefully she'll be joining us here this evening. Hello, thank you for joining. Let's see. Got to add her in here. If I can find her, we'll get her on here. Let's see. No, we're good there. So, anyway, hello. Glad that everybody's joining us this evening. Let's see. Send invites. There we go. That's who I'm looking for. So, Lane. There we go. That's who I want to invite. Okay. So hopefully she'll be able to join us. Again, I'm sorry I'm kind of looking in weird directions. I'm doing this on my iPad, which is a weird way to do a live because the impulse, I think, when you have your phone is to have the camera kind of up at the top and you stare at the camera. But for an iPad, it's actually over here. So look over here, look over here, look over here, look over here. So I think, is that Lane?
Hello.
Hello. You are but a blur, but a beautiful blur.
Haha.
Haha, there we go.
I was flipped around and you were staring at my ceiling.
Like if I have my camera flipped around, you would see my very messy, books cluttered everywhere office, which is not how I want you to remember me. I want you to remember me as the guy apparently who looks like Doctor Strange now. I don't know. So so hi, Elaine, welcome.
Hi. Is there a reason you're sideways?
I'm slightly sideways because, I mean, I can kind of turn that way if that helps, but I'm going to still wind up kind of looking like I'm kind of looking over in that direction because I'm on my iPad. Oh. So my camera is over here. I was kind of explaining that. So gotcha. I can either sit like this and talk to you like this, which is miserable for everybody, or I can just sort of be staring at the middle distance the whole time. It makes me look really wise, I think. That was space weird. So anyway. So we're going to be doing some live cartomancy, divination sorts of things. I figure we should probably start with what decks are we using? What are our tools that we're kind of turning to tonight? And then we're going to do some reading on a few questions that we received from our Patreon supporters. Hello, everybody. So a lot of people joining us. Oh my goodness, this is lovely. But we're going to have a few questions from Patreon folks first. That's kind of one of the new perks that we've added is if you're a Patreon supporter, you get to, we send out a request for questions before we do lives, and we'll answer those kind of at the top of the session. And then the back half of that, we'll kind of flip it around and open it up to questions from anybody who's watching, anybody who has a question they'd like us to read on. Cannot guarantee the accuracy of these. These are, for entertainment only, in terms of like we're doing them sort of spontaneously and all that. So, Lane, what are you working with tonight? What are your tools for tonight?
Let's see. So I've got the Sacred Hags Oracle, which seemed to be popular last time. Mm-hmm. And then Rider-Waite.
Nice.
And Literary Witches Oracle.
Beautiful.
I mean, I have like some playing deck type stuff, but I figured that was something you could do more your realm. And also, people commented, and it's a better way to describe it. You're rotated 90 degrees.
I'm rotated 90 degrees.
Yes, like you're literally sideways in my picture.
Oh, that's funny. I'm not sure. So if I do that, I feel like that's even worse.
Nope, that's better. That's how we wanted it.
But I'll do my best. My iPad is being held up in a precarious way, so at some point you may do a gymnastic flip going as you tumble down.
I'm okay with that.
Makes you feel like you got exercise today. I think that's important, right? So there we go.
I got plenty of exercise today. I went witchy shop hopping.
Well, tell us a little bit about that before we dive into the cartomancy, because I saw that you posted about that.
What about it?
So like, were you shopping for anything in particular, or were you just kind of enjoying like getting around to some local shops and stuff?
Yeah, just enjoying. I got one of, don't fall, don't spill. One of these. Because like
Okay.
all mine are missing from all my
Uh-huh.
little chime candles.
Mm-hmm.
So I got one of those. And then I have a lot of loose incense, and they had a tiny little incense spoon, and I thought it was so cute.
That looks like almost like an absinthe spoon.
I know.
It's
It looks a
adorable. I love
little
that.
druggy or something, but that's all right. So yeah.
Lane's opium den and divinatory parlor is open. So.
And then when I was posting on Instagram that I found your book,
Mm-hmm.
I also came across a post on how to use, or one way to use a black cat candle,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw him, so I was like, it's a sign. I'm gonna get it.
Sure. Yeah.
So here he
Absolutely.
is. I
Can
will go.
I'll be curious what you're using a black cat candle for, but we can talk
I'm
about
not
that
sure.
off in the distance at some time.
I'm not sure yet, but I don't know. I felt like I needed to get it, so.
Oh, cool. Fair enough. Okay, well, I'll run through kind of what I'm using tonight. I've got a whole stack of stuff that I'm open to using. Kind of go with the flow, sort of see what appeals to me. As always, I have playing card decks. I have the Wicked Kingdom, Wiley Beckert's really gorgeous deck, and then I have my mother's playing card deck as well. It's her birthday month, so it's feels like if something needs a little ancestral linkage, that's a good way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I have my 5-cent tarot, Madame Clara's 5-cent tarot, given to me by Heather, which is just my default deck to use now for tarot. I do, of course, have Mildred Payne's Oracle of Black Enchantment from Deviant Moon, which we've had some very fun results from. I'll
If
say
you want
that.
some tough love, some sass, go with
It
that
gives you
one.
that. And then kind of flipping that around in the other direction, I've also got the Oracle of Saints. If somebody wants readings from that, we can kind of lean in that. And then I've also got, and this is going to be a little different, I've got my sort of Bowl of Bones, my sort of collection of random witchy objects that I'm not going to be able to kind of shake it out the way I normally would, but I'll kind of reach in and just sort of pick something up and sort of read based on what that object is, if we want to kind of do something like that at some point too. So
Cool.
lots of options. I think let's start with, first of all, again, hi everybody. So glad that you're here. A lot of people. Don't panic if we don't get to your questions right away. We will eventually. There is a little question button at the bottom. So if you have questions that you know you're going to want to ask us, you can go ahead and start kind of formulating those and even dropping those with that little, there's like a little question mark in a chat bubble at the bottom of the Instagram live that you should be able to put your questions in there. And then we'll kind of cycle through those as we come to those. Because we only got like 2 or 3 questions from Patreon tonight. So we'll get through those fairly quickly.
Hi, Sarah.
Yeah. Hello, Sarah. Okay, so do you want to should we both read on the Patreon questions, or do you want to read on one and I'll read on one?
Yeah, sure. And also, I just wanted to say, if you're going to kind of submit your question now, make sure that you put who you would like to do the reading, or if it doesn't matter, that's fine. But if you have like a specific deck you want us to use, make sure to include that as well.
Yes, that does help. Thank you for remembering that.
Hmm.
Okay, so I'll ask this question first, and then I'll let you go ahead and read to the first reading. How about that?
Okay, sure.
Okay, and we're not going to say names. Just going to read kind of generally, because we didn't necessarily ask people if they want us to put their names up on this when we're talking. So this is a question that says, should I move on from moderating a forum? I love to give people a safe space online, but it eats up a lot of my free time. Anytime I think I should quit, I feel guilty. So.
Well, I know this isn't like Ask Abby or anything, but already my feeling is like, yes, you should. If it's causing you like stress and guilt, then yes, you should. But let's do it. Let's do a rating, see what it says.
Sure, let's see what they say.
Okay. Which one should I read from, do you think?
Moderating a forum feels like, well, so she mentioned the idea of sort of being a safe space. I don't know, this feels like the Wild Woman Tarot to me, or the Wild Woman Oracle deck to me.
Sacred Hags?
Sacred Hags, thank you, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The one I did not pull out.
I'm so sorry. That may be,
That's all right. That's all right.
I can be totally wrong. So.
So while I'm getting this set up, how was your day?
It's been good. It's been very, very busy. I've been prepping we're going to have a new episode coming out tomorrow, which hopefully people will be interested in. It's an interview with Hechicera. So that's somebody working with a New Mexican American folk magical tradition, who is an absolutely delightful guest. So you'll get to hear her tomorrow, coming out, I think, around 9 or 10 a.m. So
Awesome.
worked on that. Worked on other various projects. So what about your day? Well, you witchy shop hopping. We already started.
Yeah, and good lunch. And I was going to get my nose pierced, but I forgot to make an appointment, and they were all booked. So that's for next weekend.
Oh, that's fun. Exciting. Oh, I did
Okay.
see somebody mentioned, and this is totally off just random, but apparently all of our old episodes are now available on like podcatchers. Like something happened where, you know how we were only showing the last 100 episodes for the longest time?
Yeah.
Now there's something like 250 episodes available of all, so they go all the way back to the beginning. So if people are
Oh,
looking to go back. I saw somebody
that's
mention that they were
awesome.
listening to the episodes and it's like, now you have so many more. So,
Yeah. Okay, one more shuffle, and I'm sorry, I know I'm the one who asked the question,
no,
but let
you're
me
fine.
focus real
Yeah.
quick on this. Okay.
And somebody else is saying, you know, as a moderator of several forums, my unasked advice is to move on. Your mental wellness is important too, which I think is kind of what you were saying there too, Lane. So yes, be kind to yourself first on this. This is important. All right, what do we got?
Okay. The full moon walk, number 41. Sorry, I have to like
No, you're fine.
go through here.
No, when we do the Mildred Payne Oracle, it's going to be that way for me. Like, I do not know those cards, but boy, are they on target most of the time. The cards agree.
40, 41. Okay.
That's a good way of putting that. Can't pour from an empty cup. All right, full moon walk.
There are times in our lives when the only medicine we need is a slow and solitary wander. Too much small talk sucks the life out of our souls. I think this is very clear already.
Yeah.
Move on. Too little fresh air and stargazing leaves our hearts hungry. But solitude is not a one-size-fits-all fix, of course. But if I'm being honest, I know of only a few small sicknesses of the soul that a full moon walk alone cannot cure. Be safe, be vigilant, be ready for the magic to bless you in the most unexpected of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And then it also says like a moonlight ritual, because it most of these cards give you kind of something to do with it, which is really cool. And it says, dance tonight, for no one is watching. Be a wild loner. This is all about being by yourself and being free. And so, yes, I think the question is answered as absolutely move on. And, you know, it's okay to feel that guilt, in my opinion, and feel it, but then, you know that it's not necessarily your burden to bear. And it's great that you took it up for a little while, but yeah.
Right.
I think it's time to move on.
Yeah, time to pass it to someone else, or time to just say that space is closed now. And there's other spaces that will open up after that. So just Corpy says, best of luck to the questioner as well. I say that makes sense too. You know, just,
oh yeah, that's sweet. Absolutely.
I hope that whatever you do, you're going to be, as the cards kind of are saying, like taking some time for yourself, because it seems like that's going to be really, really important, is having that solitude. So yeah. Okay, good first round there. All right, so next question. I'll read on this one. My phone's flipping around. Okay, there's always a lot going on in my head, so I managed to narrow things down to 3 questions. I was wondering if we could pick one of them. And so I think, all 3 of these are good questions. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read the 2 that I think are kind of the best, or not best, 2 that here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read all 3 questions. Lane, how about if you pick a divination method and read on one of them, and I'll pick a divination method and read on the other 2.
Okay.
Okay, let's do that. First question, what talent do I have that I could use more? Second question, what spiritual lesson am I trying to master right now? And third question, how can I open my heart?
Oh.
So which one do you want to tackle?
I think I like the second one.
So what am I trying to master right now? What spiritual lesson?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I will read on what talent do I have that I could use more, and how can I open my heart? And I think that for what talent do I have that I could use more, I'm going to actually read using the Wicked Kingdom playing cards, and then I'll probably read using either the Saint cards or the tarot cards for the third question. So go ahead and we'll both be shuffling here.
Okay. I think I'll use the Sacred Hags again.
Nice. Okay.
Um,
Run with that.
okay. Remind me of my question again. I'm so sorry.
What spiritual lesson am I trying to master right now?
Spiritual lesson. Okay.
Yes. There we go. All right. So now now everybody who's paying attention gets to listen to the joyous sound of a shuffling thing. This is how you make entertainment, people. This is all right. Focus for just a second. All right. And let's see. All right. What talent do I have? I need to utilize better, use more actively. All right. So splitting the deck, and we have the Four of Diamonds, which is interesting. That indicates. Oh, I should probably show you the actual card. The Four of Diamonds. Again, this is the Wicked Kingdom deck, Wiley Beckert. So the Four of Diamonds generally indicates like a purse. It's the sort of the image that goes with it is this idea of like a purse, like a money pouch or something that contains something valuable but is kept closed. And it also can mean no news. So there's kind of two ways that you can look at that, in my opinion. And this could go a lot of ways for other people too. But in my opinion, you would be looking at either having a really good sense of financial management. That's a talent that you may have that you're either have underdeveloped or that you haven't put a lot of emphasis on. But being able to kind of manage your finances or maybe even other people's finances responsibly would fall kind of within your purview. The other side of that, the idea of no news as sort of a closed purse, this is also kind of, the opening of a purse is sometimes called a mouth, right? So sort of a closed mouth as well. So this can be being a good secret keeper, being a good confidant. So that could be a talent that you're kind of needing to lean into, being somebody that's sort of a trusted listener as well. So it's either financial management or being kind of a sounding board, maybe a therapist if you're kind of pursuing more professionally. But really what I'm talking about is just kind of being able to listen without judgment and able to take in information and sort of keep it close, keep it secret, keep it safe, as it were. So, all right. Next
okay. So I pulled number 32. Whoa. I just pulled a bunch of stuff. The Storyteller's Jewels. So let's see. This one says, we house 1,000,001 stories in our hearts. If you were to leave this world forever today, never having told that one story you were destined to tell, would your spirit wander searching for the hungry ears of sleeping witches to whisper your words to? How would it feel to write this story today? Such a vicious lie is that our stories are too small to matter, that if the epic myths of our lives do not end in a sword-raised victory, we may as well keep our lips sealed. You've earned every victory. You may as well keep our lips. We may as well keep our lips sealed. Oh man, I just totally messed that up. Okay. You've earned every lesson you might teach. There we go. So why would you not share your voice with the world? Okay, so well, I feel really bad asking this. What was the specific question again?
It was what spiritual lesson, or I'm sorry, yeah, what spiritual lesson am I trying to master right now?
Okay. Well, there's a lot about storytelling. To me, that also says like sharing your knowledge. Maybe in writing a book, but if that's not your thing, just in um, a friend who is interested in, in what you have to, I guess, educate them on, or, even just teaching them, excuse me, a skill. Like, I've taught several of my friends to knit, and
Mm-hmm.
I always really enjoy that. So maybe it's a handiwork type of skill. But that's kind of what I get out of that. And I like to, it's storyteller's jewels. Often jewelry is just for, for show, for prettiness, but it can also mean, certain things. Like, this is my daughter's birthstone. This was given to me for Mother's Day, so this holds a lot of meaning. So I think that just kind of echoes what it was saying of, if it doesn't have like a purpose, then it's not always seen as valuable. And I think we need to start, like, to get away from that. So even if you don't think it's valuable, it is.
Right. Yeah. It does not everything not everything has to be, a side
Commoditized.
gig. Right. Yeah. It can
Yes,
be a hobby. Can be a hobby.
that's right.
And something that you do can be fulfilling to your soul without necessarily being fulfilling to a pocketbook
That's right.
as well. I mean, live in kind of a capitalist society where money is how we show a lot of value for things, and I think that it's healthy for us to step back from that sometimes and say, things are valuable without monetization. Things are valuable just for the sake of fulfilling a need for beauty or a need for love or a need for connection. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Very true.
yeah. I'm all about the wisdom tonight. I'm just full of them, full of wise gems. The last question they asked was, how can I open my heart? Which is such a touching, kind, sweet question, but
Mm-hmm.
also speaks to kind of a sadness or a bittersweet quality to it too. I feel like it's a vulnerable question, and thank you for asking that. And so I pulled, I decided not to do tarot. That felt a little more intimate as a question. So I went to my mom's card deck, and I pulled the Nine of Hearts, which speaks to, it's a very cozy card. It's kind of the image of being in a little cottage, snuggled up by a fire, maybe with one or two people that you really care about, and making those really close personal connections, sharing time, sharing space, and not being caught in the sort of bustle of things. It's interesting because all three of these questions, I think, are kind of getting at something similar, which is that really close, intimate relationship, sort of direction for life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being somebody who can take in stories and listen to people, and then knows how to share stories. The storyteller that you pulled, right? In that close, intimate way, maybe with people, in a small environment. That's a powerful thing. Knowing the right story to tell to the right people at the right time, and connect with them on a very individual basis, I think is very powerful. And I think sharing your story, with other people that you trust, can feel a little raw, but it also creates bonds that become very deep and very unbreakable. Lane and I have several stories together like that, that
Mm-hmm.
are very powerful for us. And we tell those stories all the time. Listen to our podcast. We're
Well,
nothing if not repetitious about those stories.
it's true. I also wanted to say that a lot of times, you, for like, what springs to mind is like, oh, am I a bad mother?
Mhm.
If you were a bad mother, you wouldn't be asking that question. And so, like, to say, how do I, like, open my heart more, I
Yeah.
think is already indicative of someone who is kind of ready for that and who has an open heart.
Yes.
So, maybe consider that it already is, and maybe you're not giving yourself enough credit.
Yeah. There's a gentleness and a kindness in your soul to even pose that question.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that you'll recognize that. So
Yeah, for sure. All
beautiful.
right.
Love that. That
That was
covers
a
our
good one.
Patreon questions.
Awesome.
Um, so we still have about a half an hour. We can tackle a whole bunch of others. I think we've got about 4 questions that have shown up in our question box. I'm going to go back to the oldest one. This one is from Wandering Which Way. What is the best thing I can do to empower my life, move us forward in our dreams? And I don't know if this had a person on it, so wondering which way. I think it's kind of open-ended. It can be either one of us. Is that correct? I don't know if she's still in here. If they're still in here, I'm sorry. I don't want to assume. But I don't see. Yeah, I don't see a specific. Yeah, I don't see a specific preference. So you know what? Unless, oh yeah, so they say it can be either person, so that's fine. So I'm going to throw that one to you, Lane, because I
Oh,
think
okay.
somebody requested me for the next one, so I'll do the next one, and you can do this
Okay.
one.
Do you have a preference for what deck you would like me to use? And in case you weren't in here in the beginning, I've used Sacred Hag a couple times. The Literary Witches Oracle. Aw, hi Firelight.
Oh, hi, Firelight.
And
And you
then
just popped in. That's weird.
the Rider Waite.
Let's see.
So if you have a preference, let me know. If you, yeah, I don't have a question box either. I mean, I assumed it was because I'm
That's odd. Well,
with you.
well, yeah. So you wouldn't have it necessarily because you're with me, and so I've got the Q&A kind of pulled up, and then we've got somebody that's posting a question in there. Maybe because I have the Q&A open on my end that people can't ask a new question right now, but I'll close it up here in just a second, so that people can ask. But yeah, do you have? So are they?
Yeah.
Oh, Hag's deck. Okay, there we go.
Yes.
There you go.
Which I'm really liking this right now. So I'm with you. I was hoping you would say that one.
Yeah. If once we get through the questions that are in our Q&A, we are more than happy to just pull them from the chat too. So, but the chat moves so quickly sometimes that it's hard to keep up with who's asking which question when. So that's why I was saying if you could put it in the Q&A, it helps. It just makes it easier to see who's in line, basically.
Yeah. And then could you read their question again to me one more time?
Oh yes. So the question is, what is the best thing I can do to empower my life, move us forward in our dreams? And I'm assuming not necessarily in your like nighttime sleeping dreams, but kind of fulfilling your expected dreams or the dreams that you're pursuing, right?
That's what I got from it, but
Okay.
if we're wrong, please feel free.
Right.
Ooh, the soul cages. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, like
And
so the
it's
soul
interesting.
cage, is that the card you got was the soul cages? Oh, that's fun. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So this deck has like 4 suits kind of in a way, and every one I've pulled has been this orange. I forget what they're called, but I don't know. I just think it's funny that they're kind of all in the same. The stories. That's what they're called. Okay, 38.
While you're doing that, I'm going to start shuffling for the next question.
Okay. All right. Allow me to share with you a too brief version of the Irish folktale called The Soul Cages. Once on the mistiest of shores, there lived a spirited fisherman who, on the mornings after the storms raged, would go to the beach and gather up the bounty from the crashed ships. A king he believed himself to be. One dark day, however, he met a Merrow, half fish and half man, who showed him the horror of the soul cages, undersea traps where this creature kept the souls of the dead sailors. The fisherman rethought his riches, for these dead and imprisoned souls were surely from the same ships that carried his gold and his whiskey. He pondered, and then he plotted, and in time he seduced the Merrow with drink and set all the souls free, expecting a great reward, but alas, all he received was a spectral whistle when the souls rose from their traps and joined the realm of the restful dead. Says, isn't that the way of it? We all carry such potent medicine, such immense gifts, but rarely are these gifts as valued in our society as we want them to be. Our reward is just like the fisherman's, a spectral whistle. No metal shall be pinned to our chests. The wealthy artists are few and far between. Show me an herbalist dripping in jewels or a midwife who rules over an estate. Even so, we carry our medicine. We bring it to the world. What other choice do we have?
I love how relevant that is in the idea of sort of like, the idea of like in the past year or two, thinking about like, we've sort of started to recognize like, oh, the really valuable workers in our world are not necessarily the people who are at the top, who are at
That's true.
who are making the big bucks. So hopefully we're recognizing that. I guess not well enough in some cases, but
yeah, but I do think it's changed a little bit.
Yeah.
What have I done with no expectation of grand material reward? What is the nature of the reward I do receive? Think of these things as the red sun rises. What is your medicine, and how do you bring it to the world? I mean, it's almost the same thing as the last card, I feel like, where it's like value what you have to bring, and it may not necessarily be like, a monetary type of gain, but it's something that you still need to share with the world, whatever that may be.
Yeah. I would
Um,
also say, I mean, if I remember the story of the Soul Cages correctly, like the way they phrase it is he sort of feels like he's a king, right? Because he's collecting
yes.
sort of the refuse of things that have gone before, the wreckage. And there's the sense of like sometimes we sort of live in existence secondhand, right? We have that existence that we're sort of collecting the things that have been left behind, and that can be a really powerful thing. We can feel really really rich in that way. And it's only when we start kind of moving outside of that that we start to see sort of the bittersweet nature of sort of the bigger world, right? So as you kind of expand beyond um, your limited experience, you're gonna see things that break your heart, but you may fulfill a greater purpose in doing that, if that makes sense.
Mm, yeah, it does.
Yeah. Sorry,
Well,
that went maybe that went philosophical. I don't know.
I think
Uh,
all of these have, but thank you for your question. I'm sorry I didn't have any more insight into it, but hopefully that
yeah.
helped a little bit.
Yep. All right. So the next question I've got is from Jackson Slade. I think that's the name. It says they were asking for reading for me. They said, "What do I need to do to grow in my spiritual path?" I pulled in my 5 cent tarot, and funnily enough, I got the Three of Cups. There you go. If you want to see that. So you have some flying fish kind of jumping around out of some spilled teacups. And if you know the Three of Cups, the Three of Cups is a pretty positive card in a lot of ways. But what's really interesting in this one is that the Three of Cups has to do with that sort of conviviality, that connection, that friendship. It even says that's kind of the top of the card. And this idea of sort of being in community with people. And I would say that's kind of what I would read as the response to the question. What do you need to do to grow in your spiritual path? It's going to be making actual connections with other people. And I don't know if that means that up to now you have been very focused on maybe learning on your own and kind of absorbing as much information as you can. I think that's a huge part of having a good, strong spiritual practice and spiritual foundation, spending that time with yourself. But I also think it's really, really valuable for you to make these connections with other people. And it doesn't necessarily have to be you go out to the local Books a Million or whatever. This is the 90s kid in me, going out to your local Chapters bookstore or your local Borders bookstore, right? And
Walden
connecting, what is it?
Walden Books.
Walden Books, your Walden Books in the mall. It doesn't mean going there and like looking for people in the aisles and kind of stalking them down and being like, hey, you like that too? But it can, you live in the internet age, you're here on this forum as well, right? And this is a good place. And I think that's really, really, that's kind of the lesson that I would read from that is that you're already reaching out right now. Continue to do that. Continue to try to connect with people that you find share some of your values, some of your interests, and continue to kind of work through that with other people, because you're going to wind up being challenged by that. You're going to wind up learning from that. You're going to wind up gathering new information from people who maybe have more experience on their path than you do. And then the better part of that, and this is something I'm going to say as somebody who's a teacher, one of the greatest things is when you start sharing your experience, you're going to find that there are people who are even newer along their path as well. And you're going to start sharing that with them. And you never know your path, or you never know what you know so well until you start trying to share it with other people. And you never know how much you didn't know until you start sharing that with other people too.
That's true.
It's wonderful. It's the best part of being a teacher is finding out like, oh my gosh, my students know so much more about X, Y, or Z than I do. And it makes me so much more curious and interested in that thing. And so I want to go out and learn it, which is just a wonderful experience. And you're going to find that's true with the spiritual path too, is you're going to find people who look to you for advice, and you'll have some advice to give them, but then you'll sort of say, well, I actually am not proficient. Maybe runes, right? Maybe you're really great with tarot, but you've never done runes. And they're going to say, well, I do runes and I don't really know how to get this result. You're going to say, let me study on that. And you'll work together with them and you'll both discover something amazing. It's such a good experience. So, okay. So I think we kind of got that question. Lane, it looks like the next question we've got, I need a test for a professional certification. Is this semester a good time? They're asking for either of us. And then there's another question that I'm going to throw this out. Each one of us can kind of grab one of these. And this is general advice about starting to sell witchy art online. So either one of us can read. Which one do you prefer?
I guess I will take the first one.
All right. Test for a professional certification. Is this semester a good time?
Yeah. So we'll just do regular tarot.
All right. I'm going to turn to our good friend Mildred for mine.
Okay.
So I'll get that pulled up here. I do have to pull up the little white book for that one. That was a challenge for me sometimes. So.
Oh, they said, thank you, Corey. This is the third confirmation that I needed.
Oh, good. Oh, that's wonderful. That's so wonderful. That resonated in some way. All right. So let's see, Mildred. Pain. There we go. Okay. So I should have that pulled up. All right. Let me pull this out. Selling witchy art online. What's good? Mildred will know. Mildred always knows. I also say that because the nice thing about the Mildred Payne cards is they are very much witchy art, right? They are the kind of witchy artistry that I love, at least. So if you're going to be selling witchy art, they're going to be able to answer some questions for you. So I'll go ahead and flip for that. Advice for selling witchy art online. Also, hello. I know there are a lot of people who are popping in, saying hello, and I'm sorry if we're not like immediately jumping back to say that, but I do. I'm seeing some comments coming through here, and I do want to say hi to everybody. I'm so glad that you're all here. So, all right. So, witchy art online. All right, and this is for just Heather. Just Heather. All right. Witchy art online. Oh, I can feel the card right there. It's a magnificent card, Heather. I can't wait to show this to you. All right. Do you have yours?
So I've got mine. And this was if it was this semester was the correct time to get a specific certification. Yes?
Yes. Is this the right semester to start?
Okay. So, reversed Ace of Wands. And from the book, 78 Degrees of Wisdom, this says, a reversed ace implies in some way a failure of that primal experience. This can mean simply that the situation turns against us, or especially with wands and swords, that we find it impossible to hang on to that force and use it beneficially. Therefore, the Ace of Wands reverse can mean chaos, things falling apart, either because it just happened that way or because we have ruined them through too much undirected energy. And see, I feel like, a lot of people would get this and be like, okay, that's a no. I'm going to start it next semester. Or, maybe next year or whatever. But I don't necessarily take it that way. Like, I don't think that tarot necessarily reveals the future. I do think it really can direct you in your future. And so I think it's saying be cautious. And if you feel like maybe you're going to have way too much going on, or if you feel like you can't be focused in this moment, then maybe it's time to rethink it. Or if you do think you can and you have that mental commitment and just kind of everything going for you, then go for it. But just kind of be aware of how easily things can fall apart, and really stay on top of it. So that's how that reads to me.
Right. Well, they say they're getting a media specialist certification, and they're already a teacher, so they're quite accustomed to living life amongst the chaos. And I think the chaos was what I really heard in your reading, Lane, where it was very clearly like, if you can handle flying a kite in a hurricane, then fly the kite. but be aware that you're flying a kite in a hurricane, you know. So yeah, and as a teacher, you probably have not just one, but many kites flying in that
Yeah.
particular hurricane, or one kite flying in several different hurricanes.
I
There's a
started
bunch.
saying maybe there's a tornado coming around, you know.
Yeah, there's a typhoon, you know, multiple things colliding, you know, somehow there's a fire pillar in the middle of all this. I don't know. So okay, and then just Heather, you asked about starting a witchy business online. You got this jaunty fellow who is absolutely delightful. I love him so. He's the serpent, and I'm just going to literally read you what the Mildred Payne deck says. An intimidating serpent coils its body and prepares to strike. 5 heads emerge from its tail, reminding the beast of the souls he's conquered in battle. Selfish aggression, material gain, or power achieved.
Oh my.
So, and it does say, like, you know, it can be through the exploitation of others, or it can be at the expense of others. It doesn't have to be, but it is definitely saying you're going to have to be aggressive. That's the thing I would take from this, is that you're going to have to be aggressive, and you're going to have to make the choice about, are you going to be so aggressive that you're kind of seeing other people as rungs on a ladder, or are you going to kind of you know, take a different kind of stance on that? But whatever it is, like, it's aggressive. It's going to be aggressive self-marketing. It's going to be aggressive kind of pursuit of that. So you really have to kind of steel yourself for that. But I also think, you know, one of the things I like to talk about is incorporating spell work from the divination that you get. And I think one of the things that you might want to do is start incorporating some dragon imagery, maybe not in your artwork itself, but if there's, you know, if you have a dragon, I don't know, dragon mythology of some kind that's familiar to you, that you could draw upon. If you have dragon-based ritual work that you can do. I know Judika Eilish has some interesting dragon rituals in 5,000 Spells, because what doesn't she have in that book? But and Peter Padden used to do a really interesting kind of riding the dragon, sort of a rhythmic exercise that you would do, and it would be a good way to kind of fire yourself up. A Kundalini yoga is another thing where you kind of have that sort of serpent of fire, but something like that really gives you an energized backbone, an energized position of strength, so that then when you need to be aggressive, you're not tapping yourself out completely, because that side of it can be exhausting if you're not naturally an aggressive person. But if you can give yourself a little, you know, a little battery pack of aggressive energy that you can draw on and deplete that, and then recharge that kind of separately from yourself, I think that would be very, very helpful. So that's a totally separate thing, but I mean, Mildred Payne is she's always kind of on the money for me. So it would work really well, I think, to do that. Hopefully that was useful. All right. Yeah, Jess Scorpio. I miss Peter immensely. He was one of the finest people I've ever met. So anyway, yeah. And somebody says every business witch is a hustler. That's true. You can choose kind of how that plays out for you. And yeah, you know, if you can do something to tap that, I would tap that dragon energy. I would do that. So groovy. All right. So I think we had a couple more questions. Oh, you still have one to read, right? Or did you just read? You just read.
Yeah, no, I'm open.
Okay. I'm open. All right. So we have, let's see. So I just did Heather's. So I'm going to clear that one. All right. So we've still got 4 questions to go. I don't know if we'll get to all of these. We will try as much as we can. Let's see next. So we've got, I have a big week coming with some health tests. Curious if the doctor I'm seeing will be a good fit. I can't see the whole thing, unfortunately. It's kind of cutting me off at the bottom there. But Sarah Kate, this sounds like health tests. Is the doctor going to be a good fit? I will say, obviously, we are not doctors, nor are we in any way connected with the medical field. So these readings are not medical advice. This is going to be, you know, maybe is there a sort of personal fit, that, you know, an interpersonal fit between you and the doctor?
Yeah. So Sarah's a friend of mine. So
okay. So why don't you read for her then?
Yeah. Whom I
And then
adore and has kept me sane through lots of things. So
okay,
yeah, I will do that if that's all right.
that works. And then I also have one from Katie, which is what's the most important thing to focus on spiritually as the parent of a young toddler? Um, I mean, I will gladly read on that question, but I will also say, um, again, being kind to yourself is really,
Mm.
really important. Young toddlers are just endless fountains of energy and have so many big feelings. And that can be very draining to deal with, even as it's very fulfilling and very wonderful on a lot of fronts. So just make sure you're getting the help you need from other. Don't be afraid to ask for help, ever, because it's perfectly fine to ask for help. So, all right, so I'm going to read on that. I feel like Mildred Payne is not the right way to go
Probably not.
with the parenting question, so I'll pick a different deck and I'll read on that. So, all right.
Okay, so I got Season of the Haunted Heart, and it's not one of the storytelling ones this time. Where are the green ones? The seasons is what these are called. So this is number 25. Okay, Season of the Haunted Heart. It says shadow. Like this one says harvest, gratitude. So I guess that's kind of like a word to focus on. Who are you not? Who would you swear is the precise opposite of you? What do you refuse to know of yourself? Our shadows are our greatest power sources, our most difficult teachers, and our most potent medicine. Ask yourself now in this moment, who have you so long refused to be? Have you resisted being too loud, too messy, too soft, or too still? Have you refused yourself rest or support? Are you a rebel who longs for order, or a straight-laced and law-abiding business person who craves chaos? Let's see. Consider not only that have you condemned part of your wholeness, but that this aspect of your soul you attempted to sever and cast into shadow is the very key to your fortitude. I see you, shadow. I see you, who have always been but refused to know. I forgive myself for keeping you hidden, and I shall know myself as you. That's interesting. So it's like shadow integration, kind of maybe the parts you don't like about yourself, which I don't want to get too personal because, like I said, I do know her, but I know some of the things about her that, you know, that are hard for her, I guess. And it's interesting because we're asking about the doctor, but to me, this is more of the self and of kind of letting yourself be healed. And that sounds a little like new agey. And I don't mean like, oh, you have to be open to be healed. I don't mean it like that. It's just like trusting your doctor to an extent. You know, I always take doctors' stuff with a grain of salt because I have had some bad ones. But I don't know, maybe I'm just pulling this out of the air, but I do feel like it's going to be a good relationship. And as long as you can kind of work with them, but also know your body, know yourself, then it will be a good thing. What do you get out of that? Anything?
Kind of coming at it from the outside thing. It's really the last thing you said, knowing your body. It really sounded like, you know, it's basically something like take an inventory of yourself and the things you want to address, and don't be afraid to hit every point on that inventory list when you sit down with that doctor.
Yeah.
Because, and I think that this happens to a lot of us. I know it happens to me. If I get in there with a doctor and I do not have the list of things that I am there to check on, then it's very easy for me to want to just be like, oh no, I'm fine, it's okay, it's No, nothing. I know I'm missing a foot. It's fine. It's nothing, you know. But that's what I mean. Is like it's just the situation, and I'm not trying to make light of anybody who's got any kind of disorders or anything like that. But truly, if you show up to the doctor only knows what you're going to tell them. They only understand what you're gonna be able to explain to them, and they're human too. They're gonna miss stuff, especially if they're kind of just basing it on tests. At that point, it's a guessing game for them. It's almost a puzzle they're trying to put together, and the more pieces
Hmm.
you can give them, the better it is. And it really helps for you to be able to have a list and be like, "This is why I'm here to see you. I'm not wasting your time. I really need to go down this list of things and explain why I am concerned." This is going to be in the TMI category for me, but I have two parents who died of cancer in their early to mid 50s, and so when I go for my checkups, I always kind of bring that up and address it. Because it's really, really important to me that we're looking for signs of that. And it's also the reason why, I kind of, I was very insistent. I was like, look, I want to go ahead and start scheduling and getting colonoscopies,
Hmm.
which again, TMI, I apologize for that. But
Hey, everybody's got to go through it at some point, right?
it's so important. And especially in my situation where I have two parents who, one of them had specifically an issue that came from something that could have been potentially detected that way. Absolutely, I'm going to insist on it. And finally, my doctor, was like, okay, sure, we'll do it. We'll schedule this. We'll make sure it gets done. And you're starting about 10 years earlier than we would normally start people doing this, but it's okay. You have a really good reason for doing it. Let's do it.
Hmm.
And it's important to me, and it gives me peace of mind too, to be able to say like, nope, no problems right now. Good, we'll check again in X number of years. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Yeah,
so
and Sarah also responded and said, "I'm getting to be myself because that's not my norm." Because I know for her, a lot of anxieties and things like that kind of tend to take over for her. So I definitely think acknowledging those and, like you said, making sure you're very clear with your doctor, these are what's going on. I don't
yeah,
feel normal, and yeah,
yes,
that will help, I think.
100%. Please do that.
Yeah, totally understand that feeling. But
All right.
anyway, okay. So
So
what was yours?
we have another Katie. This is asking. She's asking, what's the most important thing to focus on spiritually as the parent of a young toddler? And just went to the 5 cent tarot again because that felt the most parental in some ways to me. So I went
Playful,
that way.
maybe?
Yeah, it's playful. It's got a good parental thing. It's got the bluey feel to it, right? And it was the 7 of matches, which, as you can see at the very top there, says challenges. And oh my goodness, isn't that the truth?
Yes.
That's very much the life of dealing with the toddler is challenges. But what's really wonderful is that, so there's other words on this card, and that's the nice thing with these Mildred Payne cards, or not Mildred Payne, these 5 cent tarot cards, is they sort of run you through a gamut of potential interpretations. And you can see perseverance and vulnerability are both two big parts of this. Perseverance is absolutely necessary for dealing with a toddler, because sometimes you're just going to have to push through things that are very difficult, things that they don't want to do, things that you don't want to do,
Mm-hmm.
but you got to stick with it. Vulnerability is also really, really important. Being honest with your children when things aren't going well for you, not making it their problem, but being honest. Sometimes you can say, "Mommy needs a 5 minute timeout," right?
Yeah.
And that can be, you can be angry. You can be very angry at something your child has done, and you take the moment and you say, "I'm going to go put myself in timeout because I don't know how to manage my feelings right now. So can you do something else for 5 minutes, and I'll be right back with you." And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, but at least you can try, and your toddler will see that you're trying to deal with your emotions in a healthy way, and that helps them too. So that's something I would say, whatever you can do. Um, uh, Somebody's saying, what am I using for the toddler question? These are the 5 cent tarot by Madame Clara. It's Madame Clara Sees All. If you look that up on Instagram, Madame Clara, that's who does this card. They're really, really wonderful. They were a gift from a super awesome person named Heather. So thank you, Heather. And they've been a default reading thing. So, all right. I think that may clear. Let's see. We did the witchy art online, so that one's good. And then Let's
Aw.
see. We did
She
the
said that's
purchases.
really helpful. Thank you. And I'm glad. And yeah, it toddler can be so hard. So,
Oh,
both for you and the toddler. And like I I feel like I always say this, but let me just reiterate. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Make
yeah,
sure you're doing things for you, make sure you have time for yourself,
yeah,
and you're filling up your own cup before put on your own safety mask before you put on your kids.
yeah. I mean, our household motto is kindness first, kindness always, and that extends to yourself. You've got to be kind to yourself,
That's
to be
true.
kind to them, and to be kind as a community, because a family is a community. So you have to model and enact that kindness together. I think it's really important. Okay, I know that we had some people who asked questions earlier up in the chat. It's hard to scroll back and find where everybody's question is. If you had a question in the chat and you couldn't use the question box, we have about 5 minutes left. We can try to do some kind of rapid fire readings for you here. Maybe take one or two more questions if you want to type your question out in the chat again. So
Yeah,
happy to do
maybe
that.
I'll use my literary ones since these are a little bit quicker. I feel like
Sure.
I haven't
Yeah,
got to use them yet.
and I'll do either. So I'll tell you what, for the last one, I'll tell you I'll use either my bone bowl or Mildred Payne. So,
Ooh, I definitely want to see something from the Bone Bowl.
okay, I'll
Somebody
do a bone
asked
bowl.
something.
So if you have something you want me to read from the bone bowl, which just sounds,
Why do we keep saying it like that? Bone Bowl.
I don't know. We're incorrigible. Yeah, the bone bowl. So does anybody? Oh, somebody asked a question. Let's see. Daphne, input advice for last final touches on my writing. Daphne, I know you're Daphne, as you said, I don't know if you were here at the beginning. You were the one I mentioned at the beginning you're in an episode coming out tomorrow. So thank you for stopping by. Glad to have you here. Oh, hi, Victoria. And Paper Organ, I know you asked for something earlier. So Lane, let's have you read on Paper Organ's applying to nursing program, wondering if they'll get in fall 2022. And I will read the tidying up on the writing bone bowl response. All right?
The what?
I'm going to
What'd you
do
say?
Daphne's what to do to sort of finish up her writing.
Okay.
And then Paper Organ's asking about nursing program.
Okay.
Just Scorpio, I love your question. If we can get to it, I might pull Mildred Pay down on that one. All right, so Daphne, let's see. And like I said, I'm just kind of doing my little bowl here. I'm gonna do a slightly different way of doing it. Oh, I had something trying to cling there. Let's see. That's interesting. Okay. So, all right. Do you want to do yours, Lane?
Yeah, so I got white dress for Paper Organ here. This is interesting. Already white says like nursing to me. So let's see. Appearances, society, and gender. So appearances, society. I don't know. What do you get out of that, Corey?
Appearances, society, and gender. Will you get accepted to a nursing program? I mean, I think that there could be a weird dynamic about, the sort of gender dynamics of nursing, but I don't know if that's even entering into the question.
Right. That's what I was thinking too. Like, oh, a lot of it's kind of a predominantly female field, but
well, so okay, but the other side of this is, what is the traditional nurse's uniform?
Like I said, like when I first saw it, I was like, oh yeah, it reminds me of a nurse's outfit. Yeah, then
right.
White dress, kind of white hat, red cross, right?
Right, exactly. And then there's also the sense of like that's the gender sort of stereotyped version of the nurse's uniform. So it sounds like it's kind of a big, bold. If everything follows the sort of plan, that's a good indication. So
how interesting. I'm trans and looking to work with LGBTQ.
Oh, well, there's a whole new layer right there.
Yeah.
Those cards saw through that question, didn't they? That's wonderful. I love that. We actually, we need trans people in a lot of different
Every
fields right now, but we
yeah.
absolutely need them in nursing,
Absolutely.
because dealing with LGBTQ specific health issues is a nightmare in kind of or at least has been a nightmare in the medical field for a while, because there's a lot of questions and a lot of stigmas that kind of get put onto it. So I really, really hope that you apply and get in and become an amazing nurse. That would be fantastic. So please do
Yes,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks for that question.
Yeah, it's a good question. Daphne, so when I was pulling this, I pulled a dried sand dollar from my bowl of bones. This doesn't look like a sand dollar. It looks like something a little different, but this is a very old dried sand dollar, which to me, it talks about fulfilling vows. I know that's a weird way to look at it, but a sand dollar to me is sort of an exchange between you and the sea. And so it's this moment of being one in a liminal space. And so being willing to kind of be in that space where you don't know exactly where things are going to go, or how they're going to work out. But then two, making sure that you fulfill the obligations that you set out to fulfill. Make sure that it matches the purpose that you set out. With writing, and I know this specifically kind of from having interacted with you, Daphne, about this, but if you're writing, one, meeting deadlines. So if you've got a deadline, make sure you meet that deadline. That's really important. But then two, go back through the book and make sure, look at, like, early on, you probably set up kind of your quote unquote thesis statement, right? Your subject that you were going to accomplish. Make sure that in rereading your book, that has shown up somehow every chapter, that you have somehow connected to your main purpose in every chapter, that you have fulfilled kind of the goals and the obligations that you set for yourself as you started working on that book. It's a hard thing to do because sometimes, you're writing the last chapter and it's been months since you started writing the first chapter, or maybe been a couple of weeks since you started writing the first chapter. But whatever it is, you put some time and distance between you in that sort of initial starting phase. And in doing that, it can be really, really easy to kind of lose sight of what you really wanted to accomplish. So take the time to go back and make sure that you're addressing that consistently throughout your writing. And this is true for, if somebody was, hearing this reading for some other goal they're working on, you'd want to make sure that you sort of have a mission statement that you're following, even if it's kind of an internal mission statement, and that whatever you're working on, whatever project it is, that you've kept that mission statement in mind as you work towards your goal. So good. I think we had one more question. It was somebody's asking about, is the new boyfriend going to work out? Oh yeah, just Corpy. You know what? I'm gonna do a Mildred Payne.
I started saying, please do that one. I wanted to add on while you're shuffling and doing that. So I had pulled this next card for Paper Organ. I hope you're still here. And it came up Eileen Chang, just to see if I could get any clarification. And I really wanted to read this for you. Okay.
She's the one that wrote like that really like crazy, almost sci-fi, like it's an apocalyptic sci-fi or a really dark sci-fi series or something.
I'm not sure, honestly.
Like she's not really well known outside of China, I don't think.
Okay. Well, her kind of word here is fate. It says outside forces, events falling into place, and acceptance. So already I'm like, okay, that's a good sign. So then it says, Eileen Chang was born to an opium-addicted, traditional Chinese father and a westernized mother who learned to ski on bound feet. Oof. Okay. When 17-year-old Chang contracted dysentery, her father dismissed her claims of ill health and locked her up in her bedroom for 6 months. She escaped with the help of her nurse. So
that's a pretty straightforward answer right there.
I think that's pretty cool. That's yeah. I think that's I like it. Okay. I wanted to point that out. Okay, so go ahead.
It's pretty great. Just Corpy said that she's just kidding, or they're just kidding. So I'm gonna, preface this by saying I just pulled the card. I'm just throwing it out there. You can use this as something to start an argument or make a joke, or you can just ignore it. Whatever you want to do with it. Pulled Mildred Payne. Got this little 6 card, which is the Wrapped Witches. A malevolent demon laughs with delight as he wraps a pair of young maidens in his inescapable bindings. Thought control, brainwashing, being persuaded. So, there's a lot of potential, sweet talking, silver tongued stuff going on. I know, right? Say, uh-oh.
You just ruined something, Corey.
I know that boyfriend is going to come after me and be like, excuse me, what did you do? But at any rate, wonderful. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We've done this once before. This is our second time doing it. I know we're still, oh, you're the devil. Just
That's kind of how I was thinking of it too, but I didn't want to say. Well, maybe they're the silver-tongued one.
Oh, I love it. That's so great. Okay. But yeah, so we've done this once before. We're doing it again. We're going to be trying to do it every couple of months at least. I have a lot of fun with these. So yeah, so we want to do these kind of as often as we can manage them. And like I said, we do our Patreon questions first, but we usually have plenty of time to kind of tackle the additional questions at the end. It is kind of a first come, first serve, as best we can get to them sort of situation. But huge thanks for all of you being here and joining us tonight.
Yeah, and all the questions. Really appreciate it.
It's so great. So
really
we'll
fun.
have a new episode of our show out. Our podcast will come out tomorrow with Daphne, who was on here earlier. And yeah, lots of other stuff that we've got going on. So hope to see you all around. Thank you so much. And
bye, guys.
We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Be well.